Next type of fossils are molds and casts. Natural molds are formed by the hardening of material that surrounds the buried organism. Their bodies disintegrate, leaving hollow cavities called molds. These molds remain the exact body shape of the organisms preserved. They get filled with natural deposits of minerals which harden to form exact cast of the original organism. Both molds and casts provide external details of the body's shape, size, and form of the organisms. Fossils of men and their domestic animals of Pompeii city, which got buried by volcanic eruption in Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, were preserved as molds and casts. Next type of fossils are prints or impressions. The footprints of animals or impressions of leaves, stems, skin and wings, etc. left in soft mud are preserved when it changes into a rock. Now next type of fossils are tracks and trails. The footprints or tracks and trails of moving animals left in the soft mud are preserved when the soft mud hardens into rocks, preserving the prints. Coprolites. These are another type of fossils. Coprolites are fossils of fecal matter or droppings. These are found in association with the animal fossils. Their study may provide information pertaining to their food habits. Let's learn about one important point: microfossils as fuel indicators. Fossils of spores and pollens, polynofossils, and of other vegetal remains of the past are used as indicators of environmental conditions, whether these were favorable for the accumulation of organic matter and its conversion to fossil fuels by the transformation and subsequent thermal alteration. By quantitative analysis of microfossils, the approximate location and configuration of near-shore marine deposits is determined. This provides information about the sites of formation and accumulation of hydrocarbons and coal. Fossil fuels like coal, gas, and petroleum are formed from remains of phytoplankton, marine and terrestrial algae, and lipid-rich plants. Determination of age of fossils or dating of fossils. Paleontologists use following methods to determine the age of fossils or rocks that contain fossils. Method 1. Stratigraphy. Stratigraphy provides sequential arrangement of fossils in the rocks from which relative age of fossils can be determined. It shows that the lower strata of rocks contain the oldest fossils and the uppermost strata contains the recently formed fossils. Method 2. Radiometric dating. This method relies on half-life decay of radioactive elements to allow scientists to date the rocks and the fossils contained therein directly. This is also called radioactive clock method or radioactive dating method. The method of radioactive dating was introduced by Boltwood in 1907. It is based on degradation of radioactive nuclei into stable non-radioactive element by losing electrons. Each radioactive element has its half-life, which means 1 gram of radioactive element changes into half a gram in a specific time. The half-life of each radioactive element is fixed. For example, uranium-238 changes to lead 206, that is Pb-206, in 4.5 billion years, and radioactive carbon-14 changes to radioisotope of carbon, that is C12, in 5579 or 56 into 10 to the power 3 years. So let's learn about uranium-lead method. In this method, the amount of uranium-238 and lead-206 in a given rock is estimated accurately, and the age of the rock is calculated on the basis of half-life. This method can be used only to determine the age of very old rocks and fossils. Because of very long half-life of uranium, that is 4.5 billion years. Now let's learn about radioactive carbon method. Radioactive carbon method of determining age of fossils was suggested by W.F. Libby in 1950. Carbon-14 is a radioisotope of carbon-12. Its half-life is about 5,600 years. When bones are formed, a small amount of carbon-14 is incorporated and its amount remains constant throughout the life of an organism. Upon death, the radioactivity is gradually lost. By determining the amount of radioactivity in the bones, it is possible to approximate the time of death or fossilization. Since the half-life of carbon-14 is small, radioactive carbon dating method can give age of fairly recent fossils, about 11,000 years to recent. Potassium argon method. This method is recently used to determine the age of earliest known hominoid fossils from East Africa. The half-life of radioactive potassium is 11.6 into 10 to the power 9 years. Now let's learn about some fossil parks in India. Fossil park is a large area of fossil-bearing rocks dug out and preserved to show fossils in rocks. In India, the fossil parks are: first is Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleobotany, Lucknow. Next, about 50 million years old fossil forest in Mandla district, Madhya Pradesh. About 260 million years old coal forming forest in Odisha. About 100 million years old fossil forest in Rajmahal Hills in Bihar. National Fossil Park Tiruvakkarai in South Arcot district of Tamil Nadu.